All right. I would love to know what criminal mischief is.
So criminal mischief is when you intentionally damage someone else's property without their permission.
Go a little bit further into this.
So an example.
Give me a scenario.
Okay.
When you key your boyfriend's car.
Yes, or smash his
some
windows
Carrie
out,
Underwood
slash his
vibes.
tires, right? Mm-hmm. You
Took
see
a
them a lot
Louisville
in
slugger to
yeah,
all headlights.
that's a criminal mischief. Yep.
Is it it's a what level of a crime is this?
So there are different levels.
Okay.
The lowest is criminal mischief in the 4th degree.
Which would look like what?
That's a misdemeanor.
So that's like
Up to 364 days in jail. There is no monetary requirement. So what
Okay, so give
makes
me an
them
example.
different levels is how much money. To
okay.
get to the 3rd degree, which is a felony, that is over $250, which I think that was written about 30 or 40 years ago.
And
That
now
should
it's
be
almost
updated.
Right, early 80s.
It should. I mean,
Like your cell phone is probably $1,000.
3 times, 4
So what
times
do you?
that amount.
That's automatically a
Right.
felony if I take your cell phone and I chuck it.
Yeah, super common.
Yeah.
Maybe the most common criminal mischief arrest.
Now you're getting charged with a felony
Take
because I
the-
threw your phone.
Right.
Or it's always boyfriend, girlfriend, take the phone, spike it on the floor. Boom.
felony.
Felony.
Crazy. Which is
Yeah.
what? For jail time, potentially.
An felony, 1 to
1 1/3 to 4.
1 1/3 to 4 years in prison.
And if it's over 1,000, then you're criminal mischief two
Or second, which is a D felony.
felony up to 7 years in prison.
Yeah.
If you
Which-
got, you got the new iPhone.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You're
saying.
a predicate
It's crazy.
felon there. You're doing
Yeah,
3.5 to 7.
And if you're a predicate felon, mandatory state prison. Your minimum's 3.5 on that.
Right.
If you have a prior felony.
Okay.
Right.
So what's the difference if, wouldn't it also be like a petty larceny or a grand larceny because your phone's $1,000? If I took it and threw it, would there be multiple charges?
No.
Why?
So it's not a larceny. If I take your phone and break it, a larceny is depriving with the intent to keep or permanently deprive.
Right.
Okay.
So
Right.
by the act of spiking it, you're showing, I don't want it, I'm not keeping
Right.
it, I'm not taking it. Although maybe they could say, if you're breaking it, you're permanently depriving. That's like
Yeah.
Me,
way
if
in,
my
There's no intent
Instagram.
for your own benefit, though. No.
way in the
Yeah.
weeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you do usually see it stacked up with other larceny type charges, right? If you have a burglary where you break into somebody's house and you break in the window or the door, you might see a criminal mischief along with a burglary and a grand larceny, right?
Because
If
they
you-
took something.
Right, because they took something, they entered somebody's house without permission to commit a crime, which was stealing something. So that's a burglary. So you have a burglary, you have a grand larceny, you have a criminal mischief for the window.
Wow, these are
That's-
really adding up quickly.
Yeah. That's when you see, domestics,
Or you're-
vandalism.
Ripped it out of the other person's hand because
Right.
Yeah.
there's something on there they really want to see. Now you have a forcible taking, a robbery.
Right. Right.
I mean, maybe they say, give me that shit, or they show you a knife or a gun. Now it's a robbery in the 1st degree, 5 to 25, right?
Okay, but we're getting
Well, that's how crazy, that's how fast some of these things happen. They go from 0 to 60, and all of a sudden you're like, how did this guy get charged with robbery in the 1st degree?
yeah.
Right.
But okay, so how often do people really go to jail for a criminal mischief charge, though? Like a simple one of like, I'm throwing your phone across the room.
Not too
Very, very, very rarely.
I would say here being like in a more urban Rochester, a more urban upstate area, but country justice, like you go out in the hinterlands.
You never know.
I mean, there's not a lot of felonies going on.
Yeah. That might be their case of the year.
Yeah, that put somebody in jail for that. That's
But, I handled a lot of them as a prosecutor, and it was almost always a situation where you pay them for the cost of the item, and then you do some community service, and then you get your,
Right.
disorderly conduct, a violation level that doesn't go on your record.
A reduction.
Yeah,
of some sort.
exactly.
Okay.
Even a dismissal in some cases. I would say the majority of them here resolve that way.
Okay.
But that's not a license to go break phones by any means,
Damn.
right? Every
the problem-
situation is different.
Every time you're on the phone, my desire to want to throw it across the room because I have to talk to you about stuff goes up. So now I'll have to think about that twice.
I don't know if I should say this, but so when I was a prosecutor, I had this, like, if a person had multiple prior felonies, and then I was doing domestic violence cases at the time, people who were, typically it was a man hurting or abusing a woman. And if a guy had 2 prior felonies, and he's acting like an asshole and hurting some woman, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Yeah, that's a typical offer. I'm not doing that offer. This guy doesn't deserve that offer. This is not a good guy.
Right.
And we would do the
Well, yeah, every circumstance, it's not cookie cutter.
Right.
It's dependent on the situation.
Exactly.
and think about that. Now as a defense attorney, I'm like, man, we took a pretty hard line against some guys for doing some kind of minor damage, but certain people deserve another chance and certain don't. And
Right.
And when you've committed 10 crimes in the past and you're flexing on some poor woman, you get what you get sometimes.
Right.
Right.